Stugotz here for Casper. We've all heard of Casper, the sleep company with outrageously comfortable products at not so outrageous prices. From award-winning mattresses to pillow sheets and duvets, Casper is transforming the way we sleep one snooze at a time. And with their current end-of-season clearance, you can save up to 20% on the mattress of your dreams. The Casper mattress is an award-winning balance of comfort and support. 4 layers of premium foam are designed to provide pressure relief for all-night comfort. Keep your back aligned with zone support, designed to provide extra support. Listen, I have a Casper mattress. I have 3 of them, as a matter of fact, and I am telling you, my back, which used to hurt, has never felt better. I mean, I love these mattresses. From bedding, bed frames, and even a dog bed, Casper has everything you need to complete your dream bedroom. And as always, free shipping and free returns. Save up to 20% on mattresses now through March 23rd, 2020. Offer expires March 23rd, 2020 at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. Save 10% off the essentials and 20% off the Casper and the Wave. Limit 1 offer per customer and order. Additional shipping fees apply for Hawaii, Alaska. Please see Casper.com/terms for additional terms and conditions. The Dan Le Batard with Stugotz Show podcast is presented by Capital One. This is Banking Reimagined.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
That escalated quickly. Welcome to a post-apocalyptic sports world, day 1. Can I do the show without you telling the people in the other room, hey, the Dead sing this song? Like, can I just do the show? We're here doing a national show.
Yeah.
You feel the need to tell them that you know that the Grateful Dead do this song.
I like this song.
I know, but can we do the show? Like, we just started. People are tuning in for our information. You feel the need to tell the studio, hey, guys, this is the Grateful Dead. Like, can we do the show?
I go all day.
So we've got plenty going on to talk about because the NBA reacted very quickly last night, and Rudy Gobert, the Rudy Gobert story is fairly amazing in that while talking about the coronavirus, he playfully, ignorantly decided to make a point as he was leaving the room of touching all the microphones, all the recorders, showing everyone that he wasn't scared, all of the media's devices. And as he leaves the room, what happens next is the game's about to tip off. It can't tip off. Rudy's got coronavirus, and the game is canceled, and then the league is shut down.
He touched the microphones 2 days prior.
Yeah, right.
And then there was the weird situation where the game was about to tip off. Chris Paul is seen mouthing, what happened to Rudy? Where's Rudy? A trainer runs onto the court, and then everyone gets off the court, and fans are informed the game has been postponed or canceled.
Yeah. And so what you end up having last night is the sheer chaos, and Timothy Burke pointed this out, of this is all happening at the same time. You've got the President of the United States talking about a pandemic and a foreign virus, opposite Sarah Palin dancing as the bear to baby.
Seriously, you're going to give that away? I had no idea. That's, dude.
Spoiler alert.
Why would you do that?
Baby got back.
Why would you do that?
And the song.
I'm genuinely upset at you right now.
I didn't think we were doing a Masked Singer update. We didn't do it last week. We're not on television today. The whole joke of the Masked Singer is a televised bit.
Theater of the mind.
Yeah.
The music dome doesn't have to exist.
Ooh, sorry,
Are we
Bill.
doing the music dome today?
Not anymore.
We were planning on it.
What's the point?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Why didn't we do it last week?
Thank you. Go on with what Timothy Burke said.
Yeah, what did Tim have to say?
Why did we not do it last week? Why did we not do the Masked Singer last week?
Well, last week the issue was we were by the, I think, 5th string in D.C., so we didn't want to make things too complicated because Lorenzo was out with the flu, and then his replacement had some sort of surgery, and then the replacement traveled, and then the replacement was out with some sort of issue on vacation or something. And then the Thursday, 2 people switched it was just there was a lot going on, and I said, you know what? Maybe we'll pump the brakes, take 1 week off. But I have last week's update, which you haven't ruined yet. We can do last week's update today. If you'd like.
You have got, Billy, you have to understand, he's a fear-based creature. He's afraid of everything. And now is a legitimate time where a whole lot of people are afraid as the United States seems to be headed toward quarantine. That feels like where everything is headed here. And
Speculative.
Billy, I know, but
But it does feel like that, Mike. It does.
Okay, you can feel that way. It's just speculation. Unless you have something
you've already
to
got, Mike, you already have, like the Nebraska basketball team quarantined in the locker room last night when Fred Hoiberg got sick on the sidelines. Like this is like watching is like watching zombies.
Yeah, he was cleared by doctors before the game. Turns out afterwards he has the flu.
Mm-hmm.
Understood, but he was seen as sick on the sidelines.
Look, I understand what you're doing. Please understand what I'm doing today. I feel like I'm going to be picking up a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing today. Like
plugging gaps, being responsible.
All I can tell that you're doing is answering Stugotz's comments about the Grateful Dead.
I go all day.
I don't think those are the lyrics.
All Dan said was it feels like we're headed towards a place where we're going to be quarantined, and I happen to agree with him. He feels like that, and I feel the same exact way. He's not reporting. He's not saying anything.
Brian Windhorst is saying, ESPN's Brian Windhorst is saying that players from teams the Jazz has played within the last 10 days are being told to self-quarantine. The Raptors, the Pistons, the Celtics, the Knicks, the Cavs, anyone who's been near Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, that's in line with what's happening over in Europe. Real Madrid's soccer team is quarantined now because a player from the basketball team, Real Madrid's basketball team, which shares facilities with the soccer team, tested positive for it. A player for Juventus, a big soccer team over in Italy, also tested positive for COVID-19.
So Jabari Young is going to join us at 11 o'clock Eastern to talk about some of the business ramifications of all of this because C.J. McCollum is saying if we don't play, we don't get paid. Hope everyone saved their money. I don't know how any of this works. I know a lot of people are arguing on behalf of what Mark Cuban said, that they were going to put together a package for their hourly arena workers in order to keep the people who need this business to stay afloat getting their little bit of money.
On Get Up this morning, he said that for the time being, they're at least guaranteeing the next 4 games' pay for hourly workers.
And he doesn't know, Mark Cuban doesn't know what's going to happen. He's speculating that basketball will play 7 or 8 sort of rhythm warm-up games before the playoffs whenever they can get back to playing. But all of this stuff is being discussed. Basketball's a leader on it. The NHL hasn't made any decisions yet, but this is basketball being the leader because I would watch one of those 24/7 specials that you do where you infiltrate the life of these boxers on just the decision-making last night. I would have loved to have seen who Adam Silver was talking to, what those conversations sounded like. Woj is reporting that the Knicks were the only one out there arguing we shouldn't do anything until the government forces us to do it. We should just keep gouging our customers and feeding them losing for as long as we can. We've already been a diseased franchise for 2 decades. What difference does it make if we're a little more diseased? The Knicks are the only ones who are out there arguing, according to Woj, on behalf of let's just do business as usual until everyone dies in the arena.
Speculative.
Right. Does that surprise you, though, that the Knicks would want that?
It was funny, and Woj knew it was funny because he made the punchline of his joke, New York Knicks. His tweet, the last thing said only one team was doing this stupidity. This is not Woj's words, they're my words. And then he said New York Knicks, and there should have been a rim shot with it because of course it was the New York Knicks. So Billy, though, who's a fear-based creature, looks up from his computer and he's just soaked in terror. And he says to no one really in particular, I walked into 2 CVS's today and just wandered around. I wasn't looking for anything. I didn't buy anything. It just seemed like a place to go when the zombie apocalypse is upon you. What were you doing? Why did you go to CVS with no intention other than walking around CVS? Are you just stunned into a post-apocalyptic sports haze?
It felt like the right thing to do, and the first time I was like, well, I don't don't have anything that I need to get, so I probably shouldn't just be getting things. That's irresponsible. If other people need these things, I shouldn't be getting them. So I left.
You went past the sanitizer aisle, right?
Oh, they don't. That doesn't exist anymore.
I know.
At my place it does.
That aisle doesn't exist anymore. Right. And then like later on, so we do the local hour, and then I'm like, you know what? I feel like I need to get something, and I went back, and then the same thing happened. I was like, I don't need anything. I think I'm good.
So you're just walking around in a stunned haze.
Well, I don't know how to solve the issues that I don't really have. Which is Dan.
Wait a minute. Don't say Dan. You said I'm convinced. Just 10 minutes ago, you said I'm convinced Tony has it, and he's already given it to us.
We hold you to a higher standard.
Exactly.
And that was an off-air conversation.
Responsible journalist.
Don Le Batard.
If I'm at the house with them and they're all rooting, I could just be like, yeah, rah, rah, rah. Go Yankees.
Stugotz.
Do you know how unsettling it would be if I attended a live sporting event and someone behind me was just going, rah, 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 Browns, rah, Heat, rah, rah, rah.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Pennzoil synthetic motor oils are made from natural gas. It gives you unbeatable engine protection. The proof is in the Pennzoil, based on Sequence 4A wear test using SAE 5W-30. That's the weight. Here's your Sports Center update. Leicester City manager. Leicester City manager Brendan Rodgers confirms they have a few players that have shown symptoms and signs of the coronavirus. We follow procedures, and as a precaution, they have been kept away from the squad. ACC Commissioner John Swofford has announced that the remainder of the ACC tournament at the Greensboro Coliseum will not be played in front of fans. And finally, wow. Starting next month, Chick-fil-A will be selling bottles of its signature sauces at grocery stores. Oof. Chick-fil-A sauce is amazing. Take advantage of Casper's end-of-season clearance sale with savings up to 20%. Get the mattress of your dreams right now at Casper.com, now through March 23rd. Terms and conditions apply. See Casper.com/terms. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
This is from the author, Liam Hackett. He writes, the World Health Organization, WHO, has announced that dogs cannot contract coronavirus.
Yeah, that was a bit of misinformation on the internet.
Dogs previously held in quarantine can now be released. To be clear, who let the dogs out?
Oh, jeez. Oh, no. No.
No.
Did you just read a meme, too? Can dogs actually get this? I don't even know anymore now that you just said that bad joke.
I read the
What did you get that from?
I already told you, Liam Hackett, the author.
Again?
The World Health Organization has announced dogs cannot contract the coronavirus. Dogs previously held in quarantine can now be released. To be clear, who let the dogs out? I believe that that's a good joke.
What a Hackett.
Woof.
Did you do another dog joke?
The woof reaction to him was good.
Because it was clever.
What a Hackett. Me reacting with woof is funny. So let me ask you guys this question, okay? Because I think this perception is reality, but I'm curious if you believe it to be perception or reality, or neither. In football, Roger Goodell is viewed as someone who's a bit of a piñata for the owners, that he is someone who exists to make a lot of money and take the heat on unpopular things to get blamed for that the owners actually want. I don't feel like Adam Silver has that reputation. I feel, and I don't know what's fair or what's right here, But I feel like Adam Silver, because of how David Stern ran the office, because David Stern was willing to punish owners, because Adam Silver's first signature act was to take away an owner's team over racism, I feel like Adam Silver has the perception, the reality. Am I right about this? On both. Do you feel like Adam Silver is a little more in charge of his owners, doing unpopular things possibly, money costing things possibly, still beholden to his owners, works for the owners, but seems to be more in charge of his owners than Roger Goodell does? Yes or no?
Yes. Goodell to me seems more like a yes man. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't see Goodell as a yes man. I just see those owners so bloated on power and that they wouldn't allow someone in that position to push them around because of the size of their wealth and the ego. And those things exist also in basketball, but so many of those owners have been grandfathered in from a previous dictator type commissioner like David Stern, who actually did best for the league stuff and often punished owners and kept punishing Mark Cuban again and again and fining him again and again for a variety of different things. And Adam Silver learned at David Stern's knee, and I feel like he's grandfathered in some of that power. And the job is to build consensus among the owners. The job is to get the majority of owners into a place, because you're not going to get consensus, because the Knicks are always going to want to continue playing basketball games until the government tells them to shut it down. You want the greatest consensus to believe that you're the guy in charge and that you're going to be the one who does the greater good stuff, because yesterday hurt the NBA. Like, that is a stomach punch. You've already got Mickey Arison losing all sorts of money as the owner of the Heat because his Carnival Cruise Lines, the cruise industry, is taking a bath right now. And now to come to Mickey Arison and say, hey, look, we're thinking about taking your gate and having you play games with no fans in the stands. And then, oh, never mind about that. We got to shut it all down. We got to cost everybody money, because in the cruise industry, now Mickey Arison has to keep paying those employees. Mm-hmm. And now you got to make decisions about what you're going to do with all your Heat employees. If there are no games, what do you do with your employees? Like, what the people listening to my voice right now, wherever it is that you work, if your job shuts down today, do you expect to be paid? Because you're ready to go to work. You want to go to work. Like, I don't know. Honestly, Stugotz, I honestly don't know going forward here. How is ESPN going to run as a network with no sports?
I have no idea. But in terms of the team employees and arena employees, I think all you can hope for is that your owner will do the right thing. That's it. Like, Mark Cuban's doing the right thing, and that's all you can hope for. I don't think you expect it. You just hope, hey, that guy's got a lot of money. I don't. Do the right thing by me. That's all you can hope for.
I mean, it's a good thing to hope for. I'm not sure every owner would be predisposed to do that.
I mean, in terms of coverage, this week and this weekend's pretty easy. Next week, though, I got an idea of how you can cover it. Here's a story of a man named Brady who's a fan of playing with deflated balls. He may be just as old as your grandfather, but his forehead's smooth. Here's a story of a ham named Stugotz who just makes his sports takes up as he goes. No consistency or repercussions to the lament of death. Till the one day when the show was starved for content and they knew they were under a ratings crunch. That's how most our bits come to fruition. That's the way we all began the Brady Hunch. The Brady Hunch. The Brady Hunch. That's the way we began the Brady Hunch.
This week's episode of the Brady Hunch, or today's episode, I should say, and in fact, we have to do a second episode. We skipped one.
Oh, great.
But you guys heard the news, okay? Tom Brady and the Avengers producers are making Tom a production studio.
Wow.
Building a studio. He's got a movie company. It's called 199 Productions. 199. The number he was drafted. back in 2000 in the NFL draft. 199. Every team passed on him 5 times except the Patriots, who finally got him in the 6th round.
Wow.
Plus, you see a lot of bobbing and weaving going on. A lot of bobbing and weaving. So what do I think when I see 199 Productions and some bobbing and weaving? I think Patriots drafted him. Bob Kraft, Tom Brady returning to the New England Patriots.
Wow. How
about that?
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive's Home Insurance. Get your quote today at Progressive.com. All guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Jabari Young expected to join us in just a minute, CNBC sports business reporter. Here's your SportsCenter update. The ATP has announced a 6-week suspension of the men's professional tennis tour due to the coronavirus. Juventus defender...
It's a Y sound, Juventus.
Juventus. Is this Daniel? Daniel Ruggiani has tested positive with the coronavirus. And finally, Snapchat was originally marketed as an app to send nude pictures called Peekaboo.
I know you're going to be confused by this because I just told you a soft J. Rugani's last name actually has a hard G.
What does that mean? Rugani? SportsCenter brought to you by Bolt 24. It's advanced hydration for athletes off the field with antioxidant vitamins A and C, electrolytes from watermelon and sea salt, and no artificial flavors or sweeteners. Bolt 24, all-day hydration for all-day athletes. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
We are endeavoring to find a business reporter who can explain to us some of the money consequences of everything that is happening around here. So we hope to have that for you shortly. Chris, you've been talking about you're now officially scared. Yesterday in the morning, you were not scared, right? It is everything that's happened in the last 24 hours.
I wasn't scared at 4 p.m. yesterday.
Right.
Because down here this weekend, we have the Inter-Miami first game ever, and Mike and I are very excited about it, season ticket holders. And they sent out a release midday saying it's still on, and I sent out a GIF celebrating. I was all cocky, like, yeah, we got this. And I mean, like everybody, last night when that news just came, I was like, oh my God, this is more of a thing than I thought it was. And I got scared. Even us yesterday, we were joking with Stugotz. I was like, was our tone right? Like, should we be taking this more serious? I felt like we were the Knicks almost. Because we were like the ones yesterday, like, oh, Stugotz, you're washing your hand. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like this is scarier than we've given it credit for.
Oh, I believe that, there is plenty of appropriate fear, and I believe there is also a good amount of fear mongering. Like this is something that, while very dangerous, and dangerous to a specific group of people and likely to get worse before it gets better, I believe that there is officially a hysteria in the air that makes people feel, even though this is not the case, that you're going to be walking around in the park and you're going to fall over dead because someone got near you. Like it feels a little hysterical right now.
And you mentioned Inter-Miami. Grant Wall reports just now during this segment that MLS has suspended its season following the NBA's lead.
So Jabari Young is a CNBC sports business reporter, and I'd like to understand, because I really do find fascinating how those conversations had to go and escalate quickly with the NBA last night. So Jabari, thank you for joining us, and I hope you can help us understand like the amount of money being lost here. For example, when the NCAA, if it decides to play without fans, let's say it tries to play these games anyway. Hypothetically, that's still in play. When the fans aren't in the building, what is the real cost of that in money to whom?
Well, I mean, to a lot of people, right? You know, and first of all, how are you guys doing? You know, hope everybody on there is safe. And second of all, you know, it all depends. You know, it depends on which league you're talking about. It depends on which game it is. But ultimately, you know, right now it hasn't reached the point where it's even $100 million. We're talking about, you know, multi-millions of dollars that, you know, possibly being lost every single day. And they're going to continue to, it's obviously going to continue to increase as the games continue to be not played. And that's why you see some leagues trying to preserve games. They're trying to at least let them be shown on television, feeling like, hey, listen, we can still do some sense of business when all of a sudden you take away the games from being played. Now you can't even have games being watched on TV, let alone having fans coming there. I don't think the ticket revenue so much affects leagues. And talking to people that, studied data over the last few days, ticket revenue as far as what it means to leagues have really dropped. Media rights, obviously, and TV rights are what takes up a lot of the economic space when it comes to sporting leagues. But, it's still going to be felt. It's going to be felt across the board. Most importantly, it's going to be felt in those the smaller areas, the working class, those people that rely on these jobs every day. Obviously, without no games, you don't have any event. Without the events, people they can't work. And then corporations lose money. People lose money across the board. So, but it's the little class people, it's the middle class, the lower class people that people just cannot forget about. And these times especially, the big leagues are going to be fine. They'll make their millions of dollars back. They'll be fine. Maybe we go through a little bit of a check and balance or reset in sports a little bit, but the big corporations will be fine. It's the little people that matter.
So if the NCAA decided to cancel the entire men's basketball tournament, how much would that cost the NCAA?
Well, I can't get it. I don't know about the specifics of how much. I don't want to predict any of that. But, I mean, listen, the cost of sponsorship, you got sponsorships about being activated that, usually activates around this time when the NCAA, so they're losing money. And also you have to look at, the perception of it all, right? You can't, obviously, if you're a corporation, now you got to even double think if you want to even activate a sponsorship, because right now the NCAA are still playing its game. So you can do some sort of activation down there to get your stuff to do that particular side of the business. But then you don't want to seem like you're being insensitive. So companies got to be very careful about how they even go about operating that, because in a time of crisis, you don't want to seem like you're out to still be making money, right? So you got to be sensitive to that. But it's obviously going to be hundreds of millions of dollars. Again, it's not, you don't sugarcoat it. It's going to be a lot of money. These leagues, they depend on these sponsorships. They depend on the media rights. And again, ticket revenue, though it may not have been what it used to be and what it used to mean to league, it's still an important part of the economics. So, when you have businesses shut down, it hurts. But listen, this ain't nothing that we've never been through before. 9/11 was an incident, okay? World Series have been missed. Sports have been, canceled, lockouts, everything. So it's not like these leagues do not know how to operate at a time of crisis. They've been through this before. Again, it's about the little people. Those are the people that are going to have a hard time recovering.
Jabari Young with us, CNBC sports business reporter. Do you know how, for example, refunds work? If a sponsor is out there, wants his money back, if a TV company doesn't have games to televise all of a sudden, how do you get your money back on some of this stuff?
Well, there's not going to be any money back. Obviously, a lot of these contracts are insured. It has to be worked out between the sponsor and as well as the league to find out. But listen, you don't want to interrupt business either, because, the leagues are going to go on. You don't want to make sure that you don't want to make the NBA mad because you're going to be refunding your money at a time of crisis. Right now, it's about the people, because you don't have the people, then you can't spend the money. Everybody's still caught up in the money part of it, but you got to worry about the people. That's why the NBA canceled the season, because you can't have people getting hurt. You can't have people risking their health. Okay, so it's a lot of money and that's going to be missed. Understood, but those contracts are insured. That the sponsorship relationships between the leagues and the partners, they'll be fine, because business has to go on once we calm down, once we get over this, which I believe that we will, because we always do. That part of it will be fine. The TV money is locked in, because that's already, those games will be played. That's locked in money. They don't have to worry about that part of it. But I'm sure the leagues, again, they want to get this up and running because it's their workforce. It's the people that keep the games operating, the game operators, even to a certain extent the referees, the people in the concession stands, the people taking your parking tickets. That's the workforce. You got to make sure they're cool, that they're safe, because if they're good, then your business can get back up and running once this thing calms down. But if they're not, and you're not worried about your workforce, the optics don't look good. So again, corporations have to do it. They have to really get back. The leagues, everybody's sitting back now. You got to double check, and you got to make sure all your dots are dotted, your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed. Make sure that the paperwork is right, because now is a time where leagues are sitting back and saying, "Wait a minute, okay." They're used to doing this, obviously, but now everybody's looking over contracts. They're looking over secondary plans. Third, what are the options? What could the NCAA do? Everybody wants answers. Are you going to suspend the season or you're not? You got to understand, contracts have to be going through. They got to know what they are on the hook for and what they're not on the hook for, what they can get away with and what they can't get away with. People are forgetting that. You got to go through that paperwork. So once that's all clear, Again, the money be fine. It's the workforce that you have to be worried about, and that's why the the NBA did what they did. MLS, obviously, following suit, people keeping fans away, because you have to make sure that your workforce is fine, so that way when operations do get back, you can get back to business.
Jabari, I appreciate your passion. I really do. And you are also, as an added bonus, 100% right that it's the people that matter first. But you're not CNBC's sports people reporter. You're CNBC's sports business reporter.
Which is why we're asking the money question.
I'm asking you the money question because you're the sports business reporter. So you're totally right.
But you motivated me, man.
Yes, and the little people.
I tell them that's the same way, Dan. I tell them the same way, man. Like we can talk money. And again, I'm not in a position to dictate how much these leagues are going to lose, but in talking to people who's been through these crises and talking to ex-CEOs who's run teams and leagues, they don't anticipate that this is going to be that bad. They anticipate that obviously if it goes, the Olympics is really going to be the big hit. Okay, if it gets to that point where you start canceling Olympics, that's hundreds of millions of dollars that's on the hook. That's the big event. Everybody's worried about the leagues, the small leagues. They'll be fine. The NBA will rebound. They'll be fine. The NHL, MLB, all those leagues, MLS, they will be fine. The Olympics might take the hit, okay? That's the big one. But those other leagues will rebound, will be fine. They may lose, hundreds, multi-millions of dollars, maybe a few hundred millions, but they'll rebound. They'll get back to business. The Olympics is what I think everybody's kind of paying attention to, because if that gets suspended, if that gets canceled, then I think it's going to be a big chaos, because you're talking so much tied into that. This is the world at this point. It's just not regions.
Do you have an answer? When C.J. McCollum tweets, no games, no pay, hope everybody's saved properly, is that even accurate? If they don't play games, do all of a sudden players' salaries get suspended?
And in the collective bargaining agreement, things get paused. Yeah, Dan. I mean, when you don't work, you don't get paid. If I'm not mistaken, right? They have clauses, the CBA. And I gotta, again, going over all the language, because this forces even journalists to go back to the CBAs to look at all this stuff to see exactly what leagues are having to go through, because you gotta comb through all this stuff. There is a percentage that they miss of their check, but again, players will be fine. They'll be good. They will miss percentage of their checks, but at the same time, what I think CJ's referring to is, listen, we're not going to get paid like that. I hope you guys saved your money, and I hope you have your other business affairs in order to understand that money, that revenue, will all of a sudden stop. And it gets back to my original point earlier when I said this is kind of like a correction. Just like how we see the stock market going through a correction, sports has to go through a correction too. We're talking billions and billions of dollars that's been pumped into sports over the last decade, okay? The leagues are getting out of control. I mean, valuations of teams are at all-time highs. You can't even the millionaires now can't even afford to buy teams. So it's getting to a point where you're keeping people out. And so this correction, courtesy of the coronavirus, is going to kind of like level things out a little bit. And I think sports is no different. This is a sector that's going to feel a little bit of the pain so that it can get itself corrected. And if you want to talk about a league that's had to go through it, the NBA is going to suffer the most out of this, because listen, no disrespect, but they got hit with the China comment, and then obviously this virus, if you look at where it originated, this is going to hurt them. This is going to hurt the business. This is going to suspend things. That's why you don't see them trying to cancel the season. They're trying to still keep it, because it's going to affect their salary cap. People forget that. Basketball is tied to salary cap percentages. When the salary cap goes down, guys lose money. So I don't think CJ is only referring to that. He's also referring to the fact that this is going to change the economics of the business, and players cannot be in a position to complain at that point, because this is collectively bargained. This is what you get into when you tie your salary into the league's operations. This is what you get into when basketball-related income, you want to tie your salary to that, then that means that basketball-related income suffers for even unforeseen circumstances like this. You suffer too. And this is what they agreed to, and so this is what's going to come to the NBA. They're going to get really hit hard by this, and it's not only this that affects it. It was what happened previously when Adam Silver already said we're going to lose maybe up to $400 million. So if that's the impact that you're taking over in China, they don't need to take any more impact on their home turf. And that's what they're trying to avoid. But as I said before, it hasn't gotten to that point where you cancel the season, but it's at the point where you start to worry, you start to understand that the economics can be affected, not only for the players, but for the workforce.
Your energy was fantastic. And
Amazing.
there's the dismount right there. The little people. Everybody remember about the little people.
Because I'm a little guy.
I know. That's fine, Jabari.
I don't forget about the little people. I don't care how big I get at CNBC. If I get that big, I'm still a little guy. I know where I come from. I know where my mom and dad is. I'm still in North Philly to the core. So I'm not going to ever forget about the little people. So if you ever have me on your show again, you always remember, I'm going to always rep the little people.
Little people. Little people. Little people. Little people.
Little
When I say little people, I mean the classes, the lower class.
We know.
Yeah,
We know.
That's right.
We know.
Thank you.
We're sensitive time.
Dan's not little.
Dan Le Batard.
I would absolutely take down my own school as a journalist if I find out that there was financial aid problems. What, are you kidding me? I'm not hiding that story.
I totally leverage that information for money.
Felony blackmail.
Yep.
Stugotz.
He's got to be the only radio personality in America who freely admits to, I'd commit crime. He's got to be. That's the niche.
You got the goods, you got the goods, man.
All the other spots have been taken. He's like surveying the landscape on where can I plant my flag.
I got this one.
Right. Nobody else wants this one. Why is there no one here? Wow, this looks like such a great land. I could just claim all fraud and crime.
Worked out well for me.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, the voice we all need right now. Tom Rinaldi going to join us in just a second on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. The MLS is suspending its season immediately until further notice due to the coronavirus. The NHL has announced to its clubs that they are advised not to conduct morning skates, practices, or team meetings today. There are 10 games on tonight's schedule. And finally, in 2002, a Marvel Comics writer based a version of Nick Fury on Samuel L. Jackson and used his likeness without permission. Jackson nearly took legal action, but Marvel offered to cast him as Fury if the character ever appeared in a movie, and Jackson took the deal. Here's the Select Quote difference. Most companies give you one option, one policy, one rate, but Select Quote shops and could get you up to 10 options from highly rated life insurance companies. For a free personalized quote, call 800-780-1010 or go to SelectQuote.com. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Guillermo, put it on the poll, please. Should Rudy Gobert now be diagnosed as the worst teammate ever? How many confirmed cases are there in Utah, Mike? Is Gobert responsible for all of them? I'm not even joking.
So far, we just have Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert.
How many confirmed? I think the confirmed number of cases in Utah might be all Gobert related.
Yeah, but 58 players and personnel were tested, and only Donovan Mitchell came back positive.
But Dan's asking anyone outside of Utah, of the Jazz organization,
I don't
do
think,
they have it?
We'll find out in a second. Tom Rinaldi. Yes, Tom Rinaldi.
Four people now in Utah. So Gobert is responsible for 50% of them.
No, he's not. It's not his fault, guys.
Well, what do you mean?
I'm good. I'm good sitting on our Gobert takes, quite honestly.
All right.
Sedano wants to suspend him.
Okay, let him be on that island. Don't go joining him.
There are people asking if Donovan Mitchell will ever be friends with him again. I mean, on Twitter, that's what they're doing.
That's important that we quote the people on Twitter. Mm-hmm. It's where all the good information comes from, not from journalists like Tom Rinaldi, who had boots on the ground in Dallas yesterday, and Mark Cuban. You saw that Mark Cuban, we all watched Mark Cuban find out that the NBA had suspended play, and he was fairly shocked. Tom Rinaldi was there. Thank you, as always, Tom, for making the time for us. What did you think were the most interesting things about Mark Cuban's reaction?
I thought it was just an incredible, in real-time reaction. Our director, Jeff Evers, Dan, at the game, as things were beginning to trend that way, decided to put a camera on Cuban and just isolate it. And as a result, that incredible shot where you see him flare back in the chair, almost whiplash-like, as he reacts to, and I asked him before we went on camera in the in-game interview, was that I described what happened, and he finished the sentence, Dan, by saying, yeah, you mean when I whip back in the chair like that? Yeah, that was when I saw the note saying that, in fact, the season had been suspended. So that was an accurate depiction of his reaction.
He said he trusts Adam Silver. What can you tell us about the conversations that owners were having and Adam leading them during a confusing time, as you know, in terms of what Mark shared with you?
I think that what we heard from both coaches involved in last night's game and what we heard even more emphatically from Cuban, Dan, was a belief and a faith that Adam Silver is a smart guy and has the humility to handle this crisis by relying on health officials and experts in the field who can guide the league through this time. And I think, listen, the quickness of the reaction, as you heard Cuban say during the game, that, listen, it is of far less concern whether we're playing. This is now about being certain everybody can get to their families, everybody's safe, that we take the necessary steps to try to prevent the spread of this. And that's where his emphasis was, and it really didn't waver. And he continued with comments in that vein post-game as well.
And this morning on Get Up, when he was talking about the Mavericks' plan to pay arena hourly workers for, at the very least,
remarkable,
the next 4 games. What can you tell us about that?
And the fact that he was already, Dan, right, thinking about that. It was maybe his 4th or 5th answer in the interview there in the second half, where he referenced understanding the pain it was going to cause all of the arena workers, all those who are working on an hourly wage who might lose money as a result of the suspension of games. And then by the time he had addressed folks post-game, he had already talked about the possibility of having those same workers be paid out of a fund that would be created and perhaps have them do charity work in lieu of the work in the arena, which I think is remarkable. And listen, I know there's a lot of takes on Mark Cuban, but the fact that he's willing that quickly to step in front of a microphone and say the things that he did, the way that he did, I think you got to give him kudos.
Tom, you and I share a love for golf. You're obviously a big part of our Masters coverage. I'm wondering, what do you think the coronavirus means for the immediate future of golf and for that tournament, the Masters?
I think you got to go, Stugotz, beyond even the immediate future of Augusta. You have to begin to wonder now about a key threshold in our society is how we view sport, the place that we give it, not only in terms of its entertainment value, but its symbolic value. And when the NBA made this decision as quickly as they did once the testing came back on Gobert, I now think you'll see a ripple effect continue. Now, it's impossible to sit here, I think, and say with any authority other than total speculation what the sporting landscape is going to look like 1 month from now, because no one can say that. Right. However, we can say, looking backward, that these are the decisions that were made in Europe that are now being made in the United States. Leagues at the same level of the NBA on that continent now being made here. What it means for Augusta, what it means, I know the Miami Open now has just been canceled. Indian Wells, which, if you're not a tennis fan, perhaps you don't know, is a massive event considered by some the 5th major on that calendar, which involves both the men's and women's tours. This is going to have a huge impact, and we're not even close to seeing its end. It's going to continue to unfurl daily and maybe even hourly.
Tom Rinaldi with us on ESPN Radio. What else did you find most interesting about what you were in the middle of yesterday?
2 things, Dan. One was, and we talked about this a little bit, the fact that Cuban said that the players were aware, that they did know as you got into the 3rd and then the 4th quarter, and the ability to play, listen, in that context, and we so often talk about the venue and the field and the court as sanctuary, but at minimum, the ability to compartmentalize what was happening beyond the court in the 94 feet and play that competitively, I found fascinating. Secondarily, if you had just been dropped into that arena, Dan, you would have had no idea at the 5 or 6 minute mark in the 4th quarter, where it was a 3 and 4 point game, that anything was awry, other than a game with competitive relevance in the Western Conference of the 1920 NBA season. It was remarkable to see how engaged not only the players were, but how that carried over to the crowd. Remarkable.
Tom, always appreciate the perspective. Thanks for making time for us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Dan Le Batard.
We have a montage
Of?
useless sound that will be for. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my voice. What do you want me to do?
I can't relate at all. I cannot relate.
Stugotz.
I'll tell you what happened there. I just shoveled 4 turkey sticks into my face without using my hands. And I ate them the way that a pelican might.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
College basketball is in the home stretch. Tune in today for the ACC tournament quarterfinals. Coverage begins at noon and 6:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. The craziest man in America, Jorge Sedano, going to join us in just a second here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
What was the news? You were barking at everyone during the break. You were spitting. You are a rat-a-tat-tat machine gun of ADD information.
I'm just trying to keep our staff updated with the latest, with what's going on. Listen, there was a time in my career where I would ask you, hey, do you want the Big Ten president on to discuss any of this? But the Big Ten tournament has indeed been canceled in college basketball. And Donovan Mitchell, a day before last night's game, visited an Oklahoma high school. And so now they're concerned about the kids there.
So the Big Ten kids were on the court, and then they pulled them off the court, right?
We have our own announcement, too, regarding our tournament, March Sadness. As long as we're coming into the studio,
it's going to go on.
We promise you our March Sadness tournament
Ours will continue,
go
disease virus or no disease virus, unless they send us all home. So before we get to Sedano and the Billy-led angry mob charging at Sedano, a tweeter writes in, Dan, stop giving the NBA credit for canceling their games. They canceled them because their ratings are so bad and nobody is watching. Now they can push the season back until the summer and hope KD and Clay can make it back to try and get them back some rating.
He's that guy.
The SEC tournament has now been canceled as well.
Also, I feel like the Warriors are out of it at this point.
Nate Gonzalez, you're totally right. I believe in your conspiracy theory that the NBA purposely, infected Rudy Gobert so all of this would happen. So Jorge Sedano is with us, and he says Gobert should be suspended. Sedano, nobody here wants anywhere near this position that you're taking. Everybody is backing away. Go ahead and argue your position, and thank you for making time for us, sir.
You got it. Here's the deal. I've talked to multiple teams over the last couple of weeks while this stuff has been, becoming a bigger issue, right, as it's gone on throughout the world. And every team has had a meeting with the league and has had an internal meeting on how to handle this situation. And the first thing they tell you, if you feel sick, don't go touching people. Don't go touching people's stuff. Make sure you tell us right away. All these things, and yet he still feels like that's a joke. Look, man, I get it if he wasn't informed, right? But if you just watch the news, let alone the fact that your own league has taken precautions on this and the individual teams have taken precaution on this, you're just being irresponsible. At the very least, you're being naive, but at the worst, you're being totally reckless and irresponsible. And if I'm Adam Silver, I'm like, yo, dude, look, we told you multiple times on how to handle this stuff, and you thought this was a joke. How about the freaking reporters who were there the other day, who he touched all their stuff? Like, those people need to feel like they got to self-quarantine. They were talking about it on social media yesterday, too. Like, I feel bad for anyone who came in contact with him unknowingly in those situations. If he felt sick, he needed to know better because he was told to know better.
What's the, you tweeted this out, so what's the response been to your tweet?
I think for the most part, it's been positive. I don't know. I don't check mentions all that much. A couple of
I definitely wouldn't check them today. Yeah. I would stay away today, man. We love you, but
Yeah, well, I got a better ratio though, more retweets and favorites than responses. So.
Give it time.
What should be the penalty according to Jorge Sedano, who is out here with this lonely take that all of us are afraid of?
Yeah, I don't know why you're so afraid of it. I mean, the facts are there. They told them what he needed to do, and they told them all what they needed to do, and he was still irresponsible. Yeah, I would suspend him. I would suspend him for a game or two, or whatever it is, depending on whenever they come back. Like, I don't know how long these conversations went, but I know they had the conversations with these guys about this numerous times. So I would suspend him for a game or two. I'm not saying to suspend him for the rest of his career. That's not the take. I feel like that's the extent you guys are taking this to.
Do we suspend him if Donovan Mitchell somehow gave it to him?
I still think he was the irresponsible one. I think it's one thing to unknowingly, transmit this. It's another thing to act irresponsibly like he did. Like, I think that's just a completely different scenario, Dan.
George, good talking to you.
And God bless you, man.
Yes, God bless you.
Yeah. All right. I love you guys. Bye.
I love you too.
You weren't ready for that Mitchell question, huh?
Oh, jeez. Who was? I mean, how could you be? My God, Le Batard.
So, Billy, I appreciate you getting in there and leading the angry mob the way that you did.
It's not an angry mob. It's just classic Le Batard misinformation today.
I think Billy was surprised that I didn't run with that take before Sedano did. He wasn't angry about it. He was surprised I didn't run with the take.
Just said
if I'm afraid of a take, then no one should go there. I mean,
all the cancellations are just pouring in right now on the ticker. Everything's going to be canceled. It seems.
Yeah. Stugotz,
golf.
You may know that I play the straight man around here. I'm not actually afraid of the Sedano take. You're afraid of anything serious. Like, this is not a shocking thing that he said, that Gobert should be suspended for a game or two.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. The Big Ten, Big 12, SEC, and American Athletic Conference tournaments have been canceled. The WNBA, who currently has a majority of its players overseas, will continue its off-season events, including the draft. And finally, Will Ferrell turned down $29 million to do an Elf sequel. Wendy's has breakfast now. We're talking fresh cracked eggs on every breakfast sandwich. Yep, it's going to be America's favorite breakfast. Download the Wendy's app for deals on your new favorite breakfast. Yep, for this, see you at Wendy's in the morning, available at participating U.S. Wendy's. It's too many breakfast in one paragraph. I could say it once and get away with it. That's like 5 of them. And I can't say that 5 times. For all the latest headlines and information, tune to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Guillermo, put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Was Will Ferrell smart to turn down $29 million to do an Elf sequel? Chris Cody is really, at this point now, filled with terror. The more tournaments, it seems to me, as far as I can tell, that Chris Cody hasn't been paying attention to world news or science. It's just tournaments being canceled that has scared Chris Cody. Chris Cody was not scared before now. Maybe it started with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, I was going to say, that definitely Tom Hanks.
It all started with Hanks, man. And I mean Hanks. When he signed off Hanks, that's where it all started.
Live nightclub just announced they are ceasing operations for the time
What?
being.
Oh, jeez.
That place is always filled with wonderful disease.
Oh, man.
What do you mean? What?
I mean, when Live closes, whew.
Wait a minute. I thought that Liv and Vince McMahon would be the only thing standing as everything got canceled.
And Skip Bayless.
Oh, Dan. Vince McMahon is still standing. Where some may see a pandemic, Vince McMahon may be very well seeing an opportunity. And I would love to be a fly on the wall at some of these conversations where it's explained to Vince McMahon that WrestleMania has to cease or be postponed, or that he can take advantage of a massive lane for any sporting event right now, the way that the PGA just did by announcing their tours will go on as planned just without attendees. You got to admit, if the XFL were somehow were allowed to go against what everything that's happening right now, ratings are going to be huge, man.
Yes.
Golf is in a unique lane. Like, nobody get near us. Just don't get close to us. We'll be fine. We're just going to take this stick and hit this ball and just stay away from us.
This is huge for darts, I imagine.
No, but darts. Have you ever seen like a big dart match? The crowd is right there.
Yeah, but you got to get rid of the crowds, but you can still watch.
But no sport is better set up, better suited for this than golf, right?
Golf is perfecly suited for this right now.
Maybe yachting or
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Is darts going to be the biggest sport of the summer? Darts. I want to ask this question, Mike, and I think we can get an answer in the next hour. As these tournaments are being canceled, and these tournaments, for example,
MAC just canceled.
These tournaments knocked a lot of programming off of ESPN today, and now, what is ESPN going to do? Because right now, as my voice plays through the speakers in the Bristol bathroom where the executives hide to steal money from the company. I am offering our services to ESPN. We'll just keep talking here, and we will keep going. If you want to put us anywhere
we will self-quarantine.
On ESPN, we will self-quarantine, and we will do show after. We have been preparing for this doomsday scenario with panic rooms. We have been those apocalypse shows that you see, those crazy people that are saving canned goods under the earth. We have so many canned goods here that we could do this show nonstop, like a Jerry Lewis telethon for about 7 months without worrying about anything, whether there's sports going on or not.
I get all the time slots. My dream.
Well, your dream is actually to be sent home lazily. Like you're angling.
That's all you're angling
I have a Comrex unit at home.
You continue to angle to just be at home. You want to speak into a microphone at home where they televise you nonstop on all the networks. But you are angling at every turn for time off. I can say
I'm here, man.
You're here today, but you're actively rooting for all of this to spread so that you can be sent home.
Instead of PTI,
so mean.
Instead of PTI next week will be the Art of Conversation. Now with director's commentary.
All right, yeah.
I can sit here and do sports television for you for a month nonstop here, just fooling around. I'm asking you, Mike, to find out for me what ESPN is now going to do from 4 to 6 p.m. Because their shows were knocked off by these tournaments that are now canceled. I'm genuinely curious as everyone scrambles on this. No one knows how to prepare for any of this. Are we just going to go live television to Carl Ravitch standing on an empty court talking nonstop about canceled tournaments?
Well, right now, we're still holding out on the ACC. The ACC still hasn't announced. SEC, Big Ten, and AAC, and as we just informed you, the MAC, they've all suspended play.
I think the Big East has a game going on right now. There's an actual game being played right now in the Big East tournament, yes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What are the teams?
I believe it's St. John's. And
Mike asking for in-game wagering. Mike is asking because a whole bunch of gamblers right now are like, they are Dave Chappelle scratching their neck in the Chappelle show. Yeah.
Vegas is like, why is all this money coming in?
That is why Vince McMahon is out here saying, no, wait a minute, don't cancel anything here. I got wrestling, I got XFL, I got an opportunity here to make some big bank.
Nah, I'll be fine without sports gambling. I won't make a bet. How much do you want to bet me?
Pac-12 just canceled. But you still got that St. John's Creighton game going on.
Oh, man. I like the Jays. Been on them a couple times. They've been very, very good to me.
The Johnnies?
The Jays, man.
Who is the worst teammate ever?
You say it next to him.
Hey, thanks. I was waiting for someone to say it.
You're welcome.
I am curious, though, because Rudy Gobert's teammates, whether it's true or not, they have to be mad at him. They have to be. Because I honestly don't think it's fair to assume, the things that had to happen, I don't think it's fair to assume that Rudy Gobert got coronavirus while touching microphones and recorders of reporters in a press conference about the coronavirus. But he made such a show of touching a whole bunch of things, and ESPN and a bunch of other places have now played that video so many times that perception becomes reality, even though we don't actually know anything. And next thing you know, Sedano is calling for a suspension of Rudy Gobert for being so irresponsible. And now Woj is reporting that Donovan Mitchell has also tested positive for coronavirus. We do not know yet about Emmanuel Mudiay, but he was tested for the coronavirus.
I'm not saying what Gobert did was responsible or it wasn't good. And obviously, armed with hindsight, it looks terrible. But at the time he did it, Dan, which was Monday, there was a totally different attitude about the coronavirus. He was not alone in doing it. He wasn't. He wasn't alone in minimizing or mocking this. But obviously, once you test positive and your teammates get it.
Well, the chronology of events is pretty damning, Stugotz, whether it's true or not, right? Because yes. I understand that I've said for many years that perception is not reality. Reality is reality. But that does not matter to people who are not doing the math on that, who don't care about nuance and don't care about what can be proven and don't care about facts. Because the facts are we do not know how Rudy Gobert got this. The facts are he did something that looked publicly embarrassing that could sway people and at the very least have a whole lot of people mocking him and calling him an idiot because what he did on the chronology of events is he did that thing with the microphones and recorders and then became the first name, I think, in American sports to test positive for this virus. I don't know that anyone else in athletics has tested positive, and the next result is the entire league shuts down. Somebody tweeted, I can't give the credit now because I don't remember who it is, he should win Defensive Player of the League. He just shut the whole league down.
Of the year. Depoy.
Thank you, Stugotz. That is correct. I've got to get the credit for that because that is not my joke. That is somebody else's joke.
Conference USA canceled.
Okay, so what is going to happen here? Are we not going to have any sports to talk about tomorrow? Beginning tomorrow, are we not going to have any sports to talk about?
St. John's up 3-2 over Creighton.
Ooh, in game.
Don Le Batard.
Anybody remember the late 60s singer Oliver? He had a couple of hits, including Good Morning, Starshine. That guy, he is the brother of ACC Commissioner John Swofford.
Stugotz.
Now who didn't contribute?
No, you saved the show.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. The Pac-12 and ACC have canceled its basketball tournaments, leaving the Big East as the only conference currently playing. The Champion League matches involving Manchester City, Real Madrid, and Juventus Lyon have been postponed. PGA Tour events will continue as scheduled, but without fans as of tomorrow at the Players through the Valero Texas Open. And finally, Warner Brothers have been scorned after an advertisement for It Chapter 2 featured in between tracks on a playlist called Classic Lullabies, including songs for children on Spotify. A listener flagged their complaint after hearing the character of Pennywise the Clown in a song break. Vivid Seats, the top ticket source for the live events you crave, now is a loyalty program that allows fans to earn credit back. Go to the App Store or Google Play, download the Vivid Seats app, and enter promo code ESPN25 for 10% off your next order. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
The first thing that I have to do right now is welcome in a whole lot of new listeners right now who thought they were getting the ACC tournament. The second thing I have to do is apologize to you profusely that this is what you've gotten when what you were expecting is that, because this is going to be jarring for you. We will get to an Adam Schefter tweet in a second, but this is a story I promised to tell last segment about what happened this morning, and it has nothing to do with the coronavirus. It has nothing to do with serious reporting all over ESPN. It has nothing to do with the ACC tournament. If you want serious coronavirus information, I am telling you, you can go ahead and leave now, and should, because this is not the place for you. Get yourself informed in places that are much better equipped to handle this than we are and that this is. But if you want to hear a story about my morning, this is the place for you, because I was embarrassed this morning. And I'm about to tell you how I was embarrassed. And I'm about to tell you that all of these people out there who have had an encounter with a person in sports or a celebrity or someone that you wanted to meet and you were disappointed by that encounter, sometimes it's because of the thing that happened to me this morning, which is I had to poop. And this is a story that's going to take a minute to tell. But let me explain to you that one of the worst things that can happen to you when you have to go to the bathroom this way and you've got sort of an urgency about you is for an elevator to be broken.
Oof.
And have to climb a whole lot of stairs, okay? So,
tough break.
Yeah, I'm about to tell you a story. Now, I live in an apartment building, and I live high up in an apartment building, so it's a lot of stairs. And I was coming back with breakfast for me and my wife, so now I have to climb a lot of stairs in order to get where I'm going. And it's through a staircase that I never use, never have to use, in a building that is old Art Deco. And so now I'm walking upstairs that, probably haven't been cleaned in 70 years. And spring breakers are all over the place right now. So there is the smell of human urine and poop in the stairs.
How'd your body react to climbing stairs for the first time?
Okay, so here's the reaction, because I had to climb up and down stairs, because what ended up happening to me is as soon as I got to my floor, the door was locked. I didn't have my cell phone, so getting close to the place I thought I was getting to, yes, I now have
never felt further away.
I know, now I have to go back downstairs, and I got a total panic situation. Now, this is the part you guys are going to find funny. As I'm in the lobby of my apartment building, I am now looking for, is there a bathroom somewhere here that I've never used, that I don't have access to? There's nobody downstairs. I don't have my phone. I'm just penguin walking at this point. Okay.
With breakfast in your hand.
Breakfast, as others pronounce it. And so
That's the way I pronounce
it. For the
it.
life of me, I can never understand why you can't say that.
It's a tough one. I can't say it. Anyway, go on with the story.
So, here's a part of the story, okay? I'm in a lobby area, and I am now just opening doors in a lobby area that I have not been in before, because they're like hallways and stuff. I'm opening doors, hoping that something here is a bathroom.
Praying
that something is a bathroom. And now, I'm not making this up, I open the door to what is an apartment.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
And it's an apartment that the first thing I see when I walk in is an open door with a toilet.
No, oh, my God. Your mouth was watering.
No, you can't do this.
Trespassing.
No.
Trespassing. Wow.
Please tell me you did it.
Don't,
Please tell me you did it.
That is such an invasion. A literal invasion of privacy.
I did not do it.
Oh, you state.
What?
Thank God. Well, he might, actually, literally.
I did not do it, but I thought about it. And I thought about it hard, because I was reaching a panic situation. And I thought about it hard, and the thing that dissuaded me is only the idea that I could be shot trespassing, and it would be a horrible way to go. I'm not joking. That the thought occurred to me. I'm like, the toilet's right there. And if you've ever had to do this, I'm telling you, this is, your stomach starts gurgling, and your body sort of wants to go do it when there's a toilet right there.
I'm surprised you were able to process consequences at that point.
I was horrified. I was embarrassed. I could not have someone walking in and shooting me because I had trespassed. It would have been a horrible way to go. I had actually decided in my head, I will take the shame of someone walking in on me in their apartment and being shocked by me being there, except I can't do that in Miami where people are armed, and this would be trespassing.
Under this horrible, tragic hypothetical, I think I might have been able to explain what had happened if just given the information that you were found dead in someone else's bathroom.
Okay, because it would have been quite the mystery, right? Just me with breakfast on the floor and using a toilet to an apartment I did not belong in, and I didn't even know existed before I just twisted on a door, and these people happened to have their apartment open.
That's the way Vinny Vega got it, right?
Kind of like that, right? That's exactly right. It would have been Pulp Fiction.
I mean, imagine you're a man, you don't know the marital situation. You walk in, and there's Dan Le Batard using your bathroom.
Mike, so many consequences to this, but that toilet was calling me. It really was.
But you didn't use it, so what did you do?
Okay, hold on. I'm getting to that, all right?
Quick update, Creighton 27, St. John's 25.
Again, apologies if you arrived here expecting ACC basketball and are now just met with a story about a gas bag thinking about using a toilet that wasn't there.
We got you, though, with the Big East update.
So because I am next to also a hotel, I'm like, okay, this isn't a great situation. This is also not a great hotel. But I now have to walk through a herd of those tourists that are here for that continental breakfast.
Yeah.
And I have to find a toilet in this particular place where a lot of people are eating.
Mm-hmm.
I go through there. I see two doors, and I'm confused because it's not one of these places that just put women or men on the door. it's a couple of ornate art figures that are meant to represent men and women, and I can't tell the difference.
Jesus, at this point, just walk through a door.
Okay, well, this is what I try to do. The first door, locked. I assume someone's in there. I'm like, okay, I'll use the women's. I have to at this point. Also locked. And I think it feels like they're locked in a way that it's not someone that's in there. These are just not bathrooms that are available to the public, because all around here on South Beach, you got a bunch of hotels who don't want wandering poopers. Like, you got a bunch of hotels that don't want you anywhere near the place.
Trying to keep you out.
So now I walk to the next hotel, and I am at this point, Stugotz, penguin walking. Like, my feet are not walking the way normal people walk. It's not even moving the way Zion Williamson does. I am basically just trying to keep my knees close together as I'm walking on Ocean Drive.
I have to be honest. I am amazed and impressed that you held it in that long.
It was hard. It was hard, and it's because my choice is to be in that, what was the name of the movie where the woman in the wedding dress had to just poop in the street, Bridesmaids. Thank you. So I don't want that to be the case. I don't want to be on Ocean Drive just having pooped myself.
Also, considering the state of affairs right now, a sweaty man who's like penguin
Exactly.
walking,
Panicked,
defecating all over himself in the street,
Panicked.
would be a panic situation for any sort of crowd.
That's right. And so now I want you guys to understand where this story started.
Was your wife wondering where the food was?
Yes, she was wondering where I was. But I didn't have a phone, and I had been very close to the place I needed to be, but all the doors in my life are locked. Now, again, if you're here for ACC basketball, I apologize for the last 8 minutes of this story. I apologize in general for my existence. I apologize for how foul my stomach was this morning.
But I got Big East updates for you. The Johnnies just took a 1-point lead over Creighton, 28-27.
So I started this story by telling you that any time that you have run into a person that you wanted to meet and one of your heroes has disappointed you, sometimes there are things going on in their lives that might not just be rudeness, condescension, or arrogance. Sometimes something has just landed wrong in their stomach. So as I'm walking to this next hotel in what I believe to be freedom and what would turn out to be freedom, I walk past a couple, and the woman yells at me these words. I'm not even kidding. It would have been fine if it had been my name, but it's not even my name. It's, "Hey, you're that guy." And I'm like, strained and penguin walking, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm that guy." "What guy?" And I'm walking away, and she's like, "Hold on a second. Let's take a picture." And I'm like, "I can't." And I'm moving, not particularly quickly, but painfully. And I say to her as I'm leaving, "I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry." And I ask, "What guy?" And she's like, "We watch you every day. We don't know your name."